Hi, this is Indraneel and you are watching Business Bites in our channel The Spotlight, India's first online business news channel. In today's Business Bites, first news we have Apple exported a record 200 billion US dollar worth of iPhone from India in the first half of 2025 since their assembly unit started in 2017. Second news we have Indian medical technology companies find security threats for Chinese devices. Third news we have prominent private equity firms are in the race to acquire stake in Hero Group semiconductor arm. Fourth news we have pending trade deals between India and the US putting global companies on hold. And fifth news we have Schneider Electric plans to acquire the remaining stake in the India venture from Temasek Holdings. In first news, Apple exported a record 200 billion US dollar worth of iPhone from India in the first half of 2025 since their assembly unit started in 2017. US giant Apple has achieved their route as fastest in iPhone production and exports from India in the first half of 2025 ever since they started smartphone assembly in 2017 in an attempt to diversify global production amid threat of higher US tariffs on Chinese imports when iPhone production surged 53% during the January to June period by reaching 23.9 million units, and the volumes peaked in March when the company rushed to export their majority of India-made units to the US to avoid paying potential higher tariffs from April. In value terms, Apple exported 22.56 billion US dollar worth of iPhones from India in first half of 2025 compared to 14.71 billion US dollar last year. The sharp rise in iPhone exports in this period of 25 highlights India's rapid emergence as a leading global manufacturing and export hub for Apple, when this double-digit growth in both volume and value is showing the success of India's production-linked incentive schemes and Apple's ongoing successful supply chain diversification. After Tata Electronics took over operations of Wistron and Pegatron plant in the country, Foxconn and Tata Electronics are the leading manufacturers of iPhones in India, when in the first half of 2025, Foxconn led with over half the volume of iPhone exports, while Tata Electronics is contributing 4 out of every 10 iPhone exported from India. Apple is now planning to undertake simultaneous day one manufacturing of the upcoming iPhone 17 in China and India, which is due for launch in September, and the component for the iPhone 17 have started arriving at the Foxconn plant in Tamil Nadu, which is indicating the start of trial production of the iPhone 17. In second news, Indian medical technology companies find security threats from Chinese devices. India's medical tech companies have urged the government of India to scrutinize imports of Chinese healthcare devices on security threat, as these modern machines can be potentially misused for surveillance, cyber attacks and data breach. When at a recent meeting with the Commerce and Industry Minister Mr. Piyush Goyal, domestic manufacturers raised concerns over increasing deployment of Chinese imaging and monitoring equipment in healthcare facilities across the country. Modern medical equipments like MRI machines, pacemakers and diagnostic devices often come with internet connectivity and cloud-based data storage, which can be used as tools in grey zone warfare. Hence, it is important not to source these products from hostile nations. As in the present advancement in systems, without firing a single bullet, a hostile nation can rig the devices with bugs or malware and use them as secret weapons. The US is the dominant supplier of medical equipment to India with an estimated 18% share, as they are shipping devices worth 12,552 crore in 2023-24 period, while China is second with 16.4% share with 11,506 crore in financial year 2024. Some countries have already banned imports of medical equipment from certain countries and companies when the Indian manufacturer raised issues regarding indirect dumping of Chinese products via transit countries such as Hong Kong, Malaysia, Singapore or other countries that have a free trade agreement with India. In third news, prominent private equity firms are in the race to acquire stake in Hero Group semiconductor arm. Private equity players including Advent International, TPG Growth, Kadara Capital, Goldman Sachs and Christ Capital are in discussions to acquire a significant minority stake in Tezolve, which is the semiconductor design and engineering company owned by Hero Electronics. Tezolve was founded in 2004 as a full-stack semiconductor solution provider, which services SPAN, chip design, testing, production support, and embedded software. The company works with 80% of the world's top 20 semiconductor firms and employs over 3,000 people across 10 countries, including the US, UK, Germany, Canada, Japan, Taiwan, Philippines, Malaysia, and Singapore. On the other side, Hero Electronics, backed by Sumankant Munjal of the Hero Group, is looking to divest a 30% stake in the Bangalore-based company, which is valuing Tezolve at around $450 million, that is around 4,000 crore. And the process has reached the due diligence stage with binding bids expected within a month. Hero Electronics had acquired Tezolve from Manikam in 2016, where currently Hero Electronics holds a 58% stake in Tezolve, when the company has actively expanded its global footprint through acquisitions. In November 2023, Tezolve acquired Dream Chip Technologies for 400 crore and adding values in their capabilities in turnkey solutions for high-performance chips. In fourth news, pending trade deals between India and the US putting global companies on hold. A prolonged trade talks between India and the US are weighing on export orders, business plans, and onboarding new US clients for Indian businesses as global companies and brands adopt a wait-and-watch mode on the outcome of the negotiations, when the cautious stance is seen across major sectors like electronics, apparel and textile, seafood, gems and jewelry. Electronics contract manufacturers like Dixon Technologies, Micromax-owned Bhagavati Products, and Carbon Group are continuing exports to the US, while clients have halted plans for new orders till they get clarity on the trade negotiations. When prospective clients who wanted to manufacture in India for the US are in a wait-and-watch mode and expecting clarity on where India stands vis-a-vis China and Vietnam in terms of US tariff. India and the US are continuing discussions to finalize a bilateral trade agreement when the US government had earlier extended a 90-day pause on imposing reciprocal tariffs for most of its trading part, when the US is India's largest trading partner with bilateral trade valued at $131.84 billion in financial year 2025. The current scenario is also impacting India's long-term export orders for gems and jewelry too, as the process of placing orders for Christmas usually begins in June from the JCK show of jewelry at Las Vegas. First with sample line orders followed by the full orders in September to October, and this process has been disrupted as US importers are buying only for a short term for each month, as there is no clarity on the exact rate of tariff. And in fifth news, Schneider Electric plans to acquire the remaining stake in their India venture from Temasek Holdings. Schneider Electric SE is considering buying out the remaining stake in its India venture from minority partner Temasek Holding Pte, where Schneider is in talks to buy the 35% stake held by the Singapore State Investment Company in Schneider Electric India for about $1 billion. Schneider, one of France's oldest and biggest industrial companies, has evolved from primarily a maker of electrical gear to a provider of software and equipment for buildings, data center and factories, and the potential transaction could value the whole venture at roughly $5 billion including debt, when the talks are ongoing and no final decisions have been made. Deal-making activity in India is growing as investors seek to double down their presence on the most populous nation, and the volume of mergers and acquisitions in India has reached $31 billion, which is a 16% rise compared to last year. according to a statement from 2020 when it completed the merger of its Indian low voltage and industrial automation product unit with the Larsen & Toubro's electrical and automation operations. Temasek has been weighing a potential exit from the joint venture, including a sale to its majority partner or another party, as well as via an initial public offering, where Schneider Electric India is 65% owned by the French company, while the remaining held by Temasek. So these were the top 5 business news from Business Bytes in our channel The Spotlight, India's first online business news channel. I would like to request you to please subscribe this channel so that you can have all the updates from our end. Thank you very much for watching Business Bytes and signing it off.